Our top story on 5 Live this evening comes from Turkey via Pakistan, the same country that India sent immediate assistance to when they were affected by a devastating earthquake in 2023. Remember, India did not think twice about helping Turkey at that point. Today, President Erdogan has assured support to Pakistan, and not just simple support, a sort of brotherhood that he has come out and said no emotional losses can deter him and his government. Shocked and angry, in turn, Indian tourists have said, if that is Turkey's response, we boycott Turkey and Azerbaijan. Watch this report to help understand what's happening.
In a shocking show of support, Turkey has reaffirmed that it backs Pakistan despite repercussions. Despite mass cancellations of booking to Turkey and Azerbaijan by Indian tourists, Turkish President Erdogan has reiterated its support to Pakistan, saying that Turkey has and will stand with Pakistan against India, whatever the repercussions be. He added that no economic losses will deter Turkey to stand with its Muslim brother Pakistan.
The nefarious terror attack, or with the missile attack against Pakistan, we had a very clear stance. We expressed our support to the Pakistani public.
Despite India's recent earthquake assistance and growing engagement with Ankara, Turkey has sided with its all-weather ally Pakistan, and Erdogan's stance has caused massive outrage in India. The chorus to boycott Turkish products is hitting fever pitch.
जो राष्ट्र विरोधी गतिविधियां जो टर्की ने पाकिस्तान का साथ देके करी है, तो कहीं ना कहीं ये मैसेज जाएगा कि अगर इस तरीके की कोई भी गतिविधि भारत के विरुद्ध की जाएगी, तो सरकार ही नहीं, यहाँ के उद्योगपति भी पूरी तरह से सरकार के साथ खड़े हुए हैं।
टर्की की सभी आइटमों का निषेध करता हूँ। मेरे को कोई आइटम उनकी रखने में कोई इंटरेस्ट नहीं है। जो हमारे देश के साथ नहीं है, हम उनके साथ नहीं है।
Indian tourists are shunning Turkey and another Pakistan ally, Azerbaijan. Hundreds of Indian tourists are cancelling their trips to the two countries. The number of Indian tourists to Turkey has jumped over the last few years. But within last 1 week, the bookings to Istanbul have reduced by 60% and cancellations have surged by over 250%.
ये बिल्कुल गलत साइड पे खड़े हैं और इनका खड़ा होना उस साइड पे इनकी आइडियोलॉजी से रिलेटेड है, इनके इस्लामिक कंट्री होने से रिलेटेड है, और ये वहां पे ड्रोन्स भी सप्लाई कर रहे हैं पाकिस्तान को। तो जैसे कि हमारे ऑनरेबल पीएम ने बोला है कि पानी और खून दोनों साथ में नहीं बह सकते, उसी तरह से पानी, खून और ट्रेड भी साथ में नहीं बहना चाहिए।
India has long had trade ties with Turkey. It had stood by the crisis-hit nation during the 2023 earthquake, launching Operation Dost and supplying relief material to tide over the humanitarian crisis. Turkey, in return, has supplied drones to Pakistan. But the nationwide outrage, the drop in sales of Turkish products and the sharp decline in visits to Ankara are all clear indications that Indians have refused to turn a blind eye to Turkey's all-out support to Pakistan. Bureau Report, India Today.
India Today's big exclusive. This is coming up with regard to help you understand that Turkey wasn't just speaking in support of Pakistan. We now expose and reveal how Turkey was helping Pakistan target India during Operation Sindoor, when India was trying to defend itself, respond against civilian attacks. Turkey was helping Pakistan as well. And I'll tell you in a short while what exactly am I talking about. Our sources have revealed to India Today that Pakistan government got drones from Turkey's arsenal. Can you believe it, ladies and gentlemen? From Turkey's arsenal, from Turkey's inventory, it was Pakistan receiving drones to strike at India when India's civilian, densely populated areas were facing attacks, which thankfully, successfully were repulsed. Our defense systems were in place. Our armed forces did the job to ensure our civilians are protected in cities. Our strategic assets are protected. What Turkish operators guiding the drones? Was Turkey ensuring that Pakistan in its arsenal has drones from Turkey their own specific inventory and arsenal. Because with debris found in Punjab and J&K as well, a lot of questions are being asked right now. This is huge. This is a big exclusive. And bringing us that big news is India Today's managing editor, Gaurav Sawant. Gaurav, it is shocking because one would think it's just political support, but it looks like that during Operation Sindoor, when Pakistan was targeting us, it was with Turkey's support.
This indeed is true. In fact, right from the time that Pahalgam terror attack took place and Prime Minister Narendra Modi issued a stern warning that there would be action that would be taken not just against terrorists but their backers, Turkey started arming Pakistan in a big way, including, according to sources, give out some of the drones that were in service of their armed forces from their personal inventory. And a lot of these drones, so whether these were the high altitude long endurance drones, the medium altitude long endurance drone known as hail and mail drones, they gave them the Bayraktars, and along with that they also gave their Songar quadcopters that they're capable of firing not just their grenade launchers but also machine guns. So they use both for surveillance and for tactical assault. That's one part of the story. Second part of the story, Pakistan did not know how to operate some of these drones. Of course, for maintenance of equipment, for operational assistance, there are operators who are present on ground, whether it's Chinese operators or Turkish operators, they are present on ground. Intelligence officials seem to indicate that some of these Turkish operators were actually operating those drones that were used to target civilians in India, which has been, a crying shame for the fact that when there was a massive earthquake in Turkey and the country was in trouble, and especially the southern part of the country, I was reporting from ground zero in Turkey,
you were there.
and that time Indians very open-heartedly helped the people of Turkey. Even now, a large number of Indians go there for vacations, for holiday, and they play a very significant role in the economy of reviving the economy of Turkey. But Turkey wants our money, but it wants to continue killing us through Pakistan, and this is the most unfortunate aspect that has worried a lot of Indians, and that's led to a lot of anger in India. We, in a way, are funding our own killings. The manner in which Indians go enjoy their vacations in Turkey, and Turkey arms Pakistan, and then Pakistan uses the same drones to kill us. So it's a amazing
Gaurav,
situation.
according to your experience and understanding, what is the reason you feel that Turkey would betray India like that? Is this an Islamic affiliation, a Muslim brotherhood? Is this geopolitics? Do they want to ensure that with Pakistan is not just friendship but possibly investments as well? What is your understanding of this?
So Pakistan is a basket case. Nobody wants to invest in Pakistan. But, that other issue that you raised is very pertinent. In fact, there was a conspiracy at one point of time, and Saudi Arabia was very miffed with this conspiracy. Countries like Turkey, Pakistan and Malaysia, they tried to come together for alternate, as they claimed, the evolved Muslims against what Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates and the rest of the Islamic world was doing. And Erdogan sees himself as some new caliph. He wants to revive that so-called Ottoman Empire. So he tied up with the Imran Khan of Pakistan and with the leadership in Malaysia. And several years ago, they actually tried to come up with a new theory of evolved Islam. As against the Islam that they claimed was being propagated through Saudi Arabia. They did not want Mecca to be the center. Turkey wanted Istanbul to be seen as the center, and Constantinople. So his aim is to revive that Constantinople Ottoman Empire kind of an image of Turkey once again, and is using countries like Pakistan and Malaysia. India very clearly read out the riot act to Malaysia, refused to take palm oil from them, and some of that, certain other measures that were taken at that point of time set Malaysia on the right track. However, Pakistan remains a basket case for the entire world, and India very clearly has articulated any conversation with Pakistan will only be on the return of Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Indus Waters Treaty remains held in abeyance with Turkey. Now it remains to be seen what the people of our country do, whether they continue to go to Turkey for a vacation or boycott that country completely.
And imagine Turkey is supporting a terror-backer nation like that of Pakistan, even for the kind of access it wants to hold. But incredible information that you've brought to us, Gaurav. Thank you very much for now. And there is a reason, therefore, that Indian tourists, some of them have cancelled their vacations, holidays to Turkey for a reason. And don't think that it will not have an impact, because I want to take you through the numbers. Why are Indian tourists angry at how Turkey came out in such blatant support to Pakistan at a juncture like this? Ladies and gentlemen, India's exports to Turkey stands at $6.65 billion in 23-24. India's imports from Turkey, $2.84 billion in 2023 and 24. So basically, you can see that even though India's exports were much more, we wanted to maintain trade with Turkey, and this is all in official information. Could this now suffer a setback? But now let me tell you about the tourists. Indians visiting Turkey in 2024, in just 1 year, 330,985. This is a big number. As I quote from the news reports, how many Indians possibly entered into Turkey for a vacation? Over 3 lakh, easily. What does that mean in terms of money, in terms of their spending toward Turkey's economy? $350 to $400 million in just 23-24 that was spent in Turkey. That much amount. And remember, if we start with cancellations now, which are also being reported in high numbers, that clearly shows it will have an impact. Indian tourists did it with Maldives, remember. There was clearly a consequence of it, and for Turkey as well. We believe Turkey was a friend, but it believes Pakistan really is its best ally. Amid all of this, but the big question comes in, is not just political diplomatic support. It's not just about a statement. They were providing drones to Pakistan. Remember, India launched Operation Dost. That's what we named, Operation Friend, for Turkey in 2023 after the earthquake. Our army personnel was sent there. Our medical equipment were transferred immediately to Turkey. Special camps, military hospitals were set up on a temporary emergency basis to help the people of Turkey. India was among the first responders. We didn't think twice before reaching out to ensure that people of Turkey get immediate help. It was a devastating earthquake in 2023. But when I say assistance, means what? India sent 250 plus rescue and medical personnel from the armed forces, from the civil defense and more. That's not it. We deployed 6 C-17 aircrafts with aid and equipment. And these were, remember, not just once or twice. There were constant to and fro sorties that were done. India set up a field hospital for critical surgeries as well to save the life of people of Turkey. What did Pakistan do, remember? Primarily promise, if required, they will be ready to provide assurance. And this is what we are watching in turn right now. I want to bring in Shivani Sharma for the latest on that. Shivani, I would want to know why possibly Erdogan would bring that support to Pakistan, but there's no clear, specific reason as modern nations. It's all rhetoric that's now coming to surface. But tell me about this. When you hear of Indian tourists boycotting it, raising outrage over it, what do you make of that? It's a justified anger, isn't it?
Certainly, Pooja, this is a justified anger. We've been getting and putting out all those reports from Pan India where the Turkish items are being boycotted and people are high on sentiment. They are angry with Turkey. India has been giving profits of millions of dollars every year through tourism, other trade also. But now, when it has been exposed that Turkey has been openly helping Pakistan and its act against Indian civilians, the anger is on. And remember, this is only what is going by the public sentiment. The government has not yet announced the statement or announced any action against Turkey. That too is also... we are on a standby for that purpose. But still, as India is deciding, as we've been getting voices of the tourism industry, the jewelry industry for that matter, the Apple industry, the furniture industry. So all those, they have stopped and put a ban on Turkish products, import and export everything. So this is bringing out that emotion and sentiment of Indian public.
Do you think that it makes an impact for the viewer watching right now thinking, will that number, will it really make an impact, a change, a consequence? Will it make Turkey think?
Certainly, it will make an impact. It has already started making an impact on Turkey. It is certainly feeling that pressure and push from India's that cut in the economy that India is now implicating. People have already cancelled their bookings that were there for Turkey, for Azerbaijan also for that matter. So that impact is already falling on Turkey. So we will in the coming days see more impact on Turkey for helping Pakistan, which is actually affecting and trying to damage Indian and attack the civilians in India for no reason, and supporting that terror nexus inside Pakistan. So it's very clear that Turkey is going to feel that pinch of actually backstabbing India that had been helping Turkey while it was in the time of need.
Shivani, stay on with me. It's not just Turkey, sadly. Another country that's come to support Pakistan, and I want to take that big news coming in. Let's take a look. And this is Shehbaz Sharif boasting about it, Pakistan Prime Minister. He's taken to social media site X, and I mentioned here about what he has said. Spoke to my dear brother. He's referring to Azerbaijan's president, Ilham Aliyev, this afternoon, conveying my profound gratitude to him for Azerbaijan's resolute support to Pakistan. Now, Azerbaijan hasn't said as much, but basically this is Shehbaz Sharif stating, and I quote him here, the overwhelming support of the people and leadership of Azerbaijan demonstrating to the world that Pakistan and Azerbaijan are true brothers. We discussed bilateral partnership through enhanced Azerbaijani investment in Pakistan, reiterating my invitation to the President to visit Islamabad at the earliest convenience. Can you believe it at this juncture? Perhaps it's good to know for India at a juncture like this, when we clearly needed friends, especially who we have helped in the past few years, to come forth and at least express solidarity and support, instead standing with a terror backer Pakistan that shelters and hosts a Jaish-e-Mohammed, a Lashkar-e-Taiba, a Hizbul Mujahideen, cannot save its own people, needs to go beg the International Monetary Fund for a $2 billion bailout that has already happened 28 times in 35 years, and yet depends on that money. This is at a time when they are sponsoring to rebuild the Markaz-e-Taiba and Markaz-e-Subhanallah in Bahawalpur and Muridke. It's a reminder that Pakistan otherwise says it needs help, it needs friends, it has nothing, no money, but somehow there's always money to rebuild and ensure protection and security to the terror outfits. But at a juncture like this, when Erdogan says we are true brothers, no economic losses will deter us, when there is Azerbaijan, at least from Pakistan's side, to say Azerbaijan is a true brother and a friend, are we looking at changing geopolitics here? India always been kind, following the civilizational theory of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, only to watch in times like these for an Azerbaijan, for Turkey to then offer support to Pakistan. This is very significant. This is Shehbaz Sharif boasting about how Pakistan and Azerbaijan are true brothers. They've had discussions on Azerbaijani investment, and of course, they stand with each other at this point. This is important to remember for India, even though these two nations have come out in support. But Azerbaijan apart, what really pushed Turkey to take this stand? And that's something that perhaps, of course, our experts and advisors in the government will be looking at. That's the big news coming in, that at least Pakistan is boasting about its support coming in from Azerbaijan. Remember, at a time, Azerbaijan and Armenia were already involved in a conflict. India took a very cautious position when it came to that conflict as much. However, right now, Azerbaijan's support for Pakistan is for all to see. This is where both Azerbaijan, which is Baku basically, where a lot of Indian tourists had started to visit in the past few years. Istanbul, a beautiful city. However, now we realize that at this juncture, Indian tourists are reporting cancellations toward Turkey, especially to Istanbul and other cities as well. And that is reflective of perhaps the times to come. Indian tourists by themselves, remember, that's not a government directive. People by themselves are taking a decision on that. But I want to give you a big update that has come in despite everything that Pakistan has done and has faced damage on its bases, on its terror targets. Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif tried to do what Prime Minister Modi did, which is visit a base. Now, you would think an air base, ideally, any military base, after Prime Minister Modi visited and landed at Adampur Air Base to show everything is fully functional in operation. Prime Minister of Pakistan attempted the same, in turn is getting brutally trolled on social media, and I'll tell you why. It's for all to see. It's not very difficult. He was accompanied by the Army Chief, General Asim Munir. Instead of showcasing real military strength, Shehbaz Sharif took a road drive, doesn't make sense, to an air base, and then simply stood on top of a military tank when we're talking about offensive power of the Air Force, and then said Pakistan is claiming victory for the damage to the bases in this report.
After the successful execution of Operation Sindoor, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday visited the Adampur Air Base in Punjab, quashing all baseless Pakistani claims that the base had been hit. While lauding the bravery of Indian forces, Prime Minister Modi showcased the S-400 missile system falsely claimed by Pakistan to have been destroyed. While India celebrates a real victory, Pakistan is busy celebrating a fake one. With Pakistan's air bases damaged by Indian strikes, Prime Minister Sharif was unable to fly. Instead of using an aircraft, he had to travel by jeep to reach the so-called military base, or what remains of that. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Army Chief General Asim Munir were brutally trolled for copying Prime Minister Modi and visiting Pakistani military sites a day later.
Mr. Modi, अगर दोबारा ये रास्ता इख्तियार करोगे तो मुंह की खाओगे, अगर दोबारा कोई प्लान करोगे तो हमें तैयार पाओगे, और अगर दोबारा हमला करने का सोचा तो बाकी जो कुछ तुम्हारा बचा है वो भी खत्म हो जाएगा.
While Prime Minister Modi visited Adampur Air Base to boost soldier morale and celebrate the success of Operation Sindoor, Shehbaz Sharif toured Pasroor and Sialkot air bases, making false claims of victory under Operation Bunyan al-Marsoos. Peddling propaganda, Shehbaz Sharif stood in front of a few hundred soldiers and a couple of tanks, claiming Pakistan had defeated India and calling it revenge for the 1971 war. But despite Sharif's best efforts to spread lies, the internet was quick to call him out, trolling the Pakistani establishment with brutal precision.
While India has been exposing Pakistan of its bluff, Pakistan is just becoming a laughing stock in the world. This is Shivani Sharma with camera person Manish Biduri for India Today from New Delhi.
So I thought let's make a quick comparison about Prime Minister Modi visiting the Adampur Air Base about 2 days ago, and then comes in Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the Adampur Air Base in Punjab that Pakistan had claimed they have completely destroyed and damaged. So Prime Minister Modi then decided to land a C-130 Hercules, a Super Hercules aircraft, and at the base, which basically means ATC is functional, air base is functional, and then goes to meet the air warriors on the ground. Shehbaz Sharif's location was clearly far away from an air base. There was no airfield. That in many ways, the air bases that India has hit, more than 9, he could have chosen any of the air bases that India has claimed to have hit. But instead, he chose what looked like, to me honestly, a field, a Maidan, not a military base. Prime Minister Modi had landed, again, like I mentioned, a huge military aircraft. Interestingly, Pakistan Prime Minister traveled and drove in a jeep, like it's a safari in a sanctuary, to address the Pakistan security personnel. Why not choose an airbase? Why not land on an airbase to show everything is fully functional and operational? Prime Minister Modi, remember, when he was speaking, in the background was the S-400 air defense system, the surface-to-air missile system, MiG fighter jets. The messaging here was Pakistan claimed all of this was destroyed. Here it was in the background, fully functional and shown when the Prime Minister was speaking. Pakistan had falsely claimed it was destroyed. It wasn't. On the other side, Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif posing with army tanks. But Pakistan Army, the Indian Army as much, played no role with tanks in Operation Sindoor or its response. Why were there these tanks camouflaged and he's standing on top of one of these to show that and claim that there is victory? This is hilarious, to say the least. I want to bring in India Today's managing editor, Gaurav Sawant, on this. Gaurav, tell me what comparison when you make, how do you look at the differences between the two? He's trying to show everything is okay. What are some of the peculiar notifications that you have picked on from these visuals?
You know, the question you asked is why didn't they go to an air base? Because all their air bases have been bombed and hammered by Indian whether it's the BrahMos supersonic cruise missiles or some of the other military hardware that's been used, clearly they can't go to an airbase. Where would they have gone? The closest boat for General Asim Munir and Shahbaz Sharif from Islamabad and Rawalpindi would have been the Noor Khan Air Base. But Noor Khan Air Base, instead of giving them pride, will give them deep despair, the manner in which India was able to strike so deep inside Pakistan at Rawalpindi, right next to Islamabad, their capital. So it's humiliation for them. Point one. This effort, very, very desperate effort on the part of Pakistanis to keep their morale high. And it's almost impossible for a defeated army to keep its morale high in 21st century when two nuclear-powered countries face off with each other. The manner in which India has hammered Pakistan, this is a hammering Pakistan will not forget for a very long time. What Pakistan does, of course, score in is misinformation and disinformation. Which it did even in 1971 and 65, because in Pakistani textbooks, they're a 5,000-year-old civilization and they won every war against India, and the earth is flat. So in all of this, and these are facts, this is taught to Pakistanis. So, you know, when their DNA is so warped in such a way, you just move forward. Can they fight a war? War fighting requires military capabilities. A pauper country cannot fight a war, point one. And that too when it's surviving on dole and arms. Their radars were taken out. India's operations were meticulous, systematic, and for effect. That just shows how a professional armed forces work. They first targeted 9 terror bases, including headquarters in Muridke and Bahawalpur. That was the first heart attack for Pakistan. A heart attack, because you can't strike. That was the convention, that you can't strike in the heart of Pakistan's Punjab province. Yes. You may strike anywhere. POJK, KPK, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, all of that is okay. But here Prime Minister Narendra Modi, is what sources are telling me, cleared a strike on Bahawalpur and Muridke. The biggest slap across the face of Pakistan's military terror complex. Point one. Point two, if I may, after that, our DGMO called up the Pakistani DGMO and said, this is what we've done. We advise you not to escalate. Then they escalated. Once they escalated, India then took out their radar bases. Any sensible army would have wargamed this, and it just shows that Chinese equipment collapsed. It failed. It could not protect itself. Imagine a Chinese honky radar that cannot protect itself. How will it protect Pakistani airspace in Lahore or around Lahore? Pakistan still did not learn its lesson. It thought it will escalate. It's like a drug addict playing that poker game, addicted to drugs or gamble. They continued to gamble. It wasn't tactics on their part. They were gambling that India will not escalate. What they didn't realize is that Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the service chiefs, the NSA, the External Affairs Minister, Defense Minister, they'd all wargamed this maybe 5 levels even ahead, in that escalation ladder. So when they still tried to escalate, India then went and hit 13 air bases across the length and breadth of Pakistan. Of course, leaving some scope that if you escalate further, we will hit the remaining air bases. That just goes on to show that that country's morale has now hit rock bottom, and that is why they're standing on tanks, trying to, say whatever Pakistan ki jai or whatever they may want to say. But there is no jai jaikar in defeat. They also know it.
Gaurav, in fact, I'm glad that Pakistan leaders are giving those interviews. They are doing these theatrics. It's only exposing them further and with hope to the world as well. Thank you very much for now. Gaurav Sawant with all the details on that. I have some big news coming in. Let's take a look at that. The Indian Army Chief appreciating the troops for operational brilliance during Operation Sindhu. In a stirring tribute to the valor and professionalism of the Indian soldiers, General Upendra Dwivedi, Chief of the Army Staff, visited forward areas in Srinagar, Uri, other areas as well, and to personally congratulate and motivate the troops. Because remember, many of these unknown soldiers ensured civilians were protected, strategic assets were protected, and of course, at a time we did lose our brave hearts as well. It's a reminder of the kind of seamless coordination, multiple threat vectors that our soldiers have been a part of. So General Dwivedi commending the valor, Josh, that's always been high and dominating the line of control. So that's the latest shabashi that has come in. Look at that. That's the image on your screen. That when the Army Chief himself lands up in different locations, either forward areas, And therefore, right now, it is important. Indian Army's legacy of honor, remember, unwavering readiness to meet future challenges and with decisive force. At a time like this, remember when Pakistan was creating tensions at the border, especially line of control, international border, it was the Indian Armed Forces, the Indian Army especially. Apart from the offensive power of the Indian Air Force, it were the Jawans, the officers on the ground, who were ensuring that our people are safe. While the hunt is on for the Pahalgam terrorists, the armed forces across Jammu and Kashmir have intensified counter-terror ops across, especially Kashmir Valley. Now, there has been a list with the security agencies. The latest updated list has about 14 terrorist names confirmed, out of which, in this high-priority list, 6 have been neutralized in the past 48 hours. Now, the 3 terrorists believed to be from the Jaish-e-Mohammed who were killed in Tral this morning. 3 have been from the Lashkar-e-Taiba who were neutralized about 24 hours ago. India today has exclusively accessed drone videos, the last moments of the terrorist, the moment before he was neutralized. Because remember, this has to be identified, confirmed. And that's when the security agencies, the armed forces were sure of the identity and the clarity of the terrorists. They went for the kill. Drone footage captures these dramatic visuals on your screen. This is from the encounter site. You can hear in the background the gunfire sound echoing in the background, thick plume of smoke from what clearly looks like a residential area, and that highlights intensity of the operation as well. But this is important. Remember, these are evidence that the security forces have about the terrorists with arms and ammunition misusing residential areas, because they believe that that's not where the armed forces would come. But right now, armed forces are on such an alert, they have gone for the kill in this area as well. All of this is a strategy also, remember, to dismantle terror infrastructure where they misuse civilian areas to launch terror attacks. 3 Lashkar-e-Taiba suspected terrorists are yesterday eliminated in Shopian, remember. These 2 encounters are very crucial because remember, as we hit Bahawalpur and Murid ke Jaish and Lashkar terror operational centers, the terror outfits will want to escalate the situation further in Kashmir Valley.
Security forces got specific information regarding the movement of terrorists in that area. Accordingly, cordon was laid off and it led to the ensuing of encounter between security forces and hold-up terrorists. So far, we have observed few bodies of terrorists. 3 bodies are observed, but operation is still going on at this moment. It will take some time to sanitize and conclude. So identities and affiliation could only be divulged only after that.
They would like to assert themselves, and I don't think there's a change in the Pakistani policy of terrorism right now. Though the cost and consequence of Pakistan supporting terrorism is much higher, they have to pay for it. And Pakistan's low-cost, high-effect war has actually become a high-cost, low-effect war. But the fact remains that the destruction ops will continue. All the 14 phases of the Pahalgam terror attack will be neutralized. Some of them have already been neutralized. At least 5 to 6 have already been neutralized. They've been recognized, and these are destruction ops. So these are basically the ops in 2 parts. One is inward destruction ops, and the aim is to bring in normalcy in Kashmir, basically. There was normalcy prevailing. Kashmir was flooded with tourists. It was peace. It was economic development taking place, and everything changed after Pahalgam. I think we need to ensure inward that Kashmir is back on the economic development growth, education, employment, generation, and things go on. And at the same time, the cost of Pakistan will raise so high that he does not cross our red lines again. I'm not saying that with Ops Sindoor the terrorism will finish off, but it will be a big setback for Pakistan supporting terrorism. It's Pakistan supporting terrorism. We should not call it non-state actors.
Joining me, India Today's Mir Fareed for the latest on that. Fareed, the past 48 hours have witnessed heightened activity, but my focus also is how South Kashmir is where this is building up. These are residential areas where these terrorists have managed a hideout. Tell me more about how the strategy of the armed forces is to ensure to go for the kill, but also not have collateral damage around.
Well, Pooja, this is a typical Kashmir encounter. If you take a flashback and talk of the last 10, 20, 30 years, encounters usually have happened in built-up areas like these. This, again, was a classic encounter where the security forces got the tip-off of a Jaish hideout inside a 3-story house, a concrete house. Cordon was laid, search was started. They were greeted with gunfire, and encounter ensued for 4-5 hours. The Jaish cadre put up a resistance, but finally they were shot dead. Obviously, as you rightly said, there is collateral damage previously, but in this case, no powerful explosives were used, and mostly using gunfire and rifle grenades, they were killed. 2 encounters we have seen, but now, Pooja, the focus shifts to the forest areas, because while the local recruitment has come down to a trickle, remember 5-6 years back it used to be in hundreds. Right now, multi-agency input says 15 to 20, and out of whom 6 have been killed in 2 days. So you can understand 10-15 in total if you talk of Kashmir Valley. So that's not a very significant figure. But what is dangerous is the presence of FTs who are better trained, well equipped, and are in many ways more war machines. Last 2 years we've seen they camping in the forest area, and our sources say that post this there will be a scan in the forest areas, and they are the real danger. They are the people who perpetrated the Pahalgam attack. They are a threat to the Amarnath Yatra, and that is why the security agencies will go full throttle against them in the coming days.
It's a reminder that means, Farid, a lot changed, a lot of transformations were witnessed in Kashmir Valley especially, but Pakistan will not want that to continue, and therefore will want to infiltrate more and more terrorists, active terrorists in South Kashmir, and that's where the armed forces, the security agencies cannot let their guard down. Many of these active terrorists still are around in J&K, will want to harm civilians and the armed forces. We'll be tracking more on that. And Farid, thank you for now. But Prime Minister Narendra Modi, remember, visiting the Adampur Air Base. Now, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh this morning was in Srinagar. The minister visited an air base, also the Chinar Corps headquarters in Srinagar, which is responsible for the military operation decisions. So he met, interacted with the station soldiers. It's also to understand what unfolded on the ground at a time when Indian strikes managed to neutralize 100 terrorists, different terror targets, military targets. A lot of the credit goes to the Indian Armed Forces, especially to ensure that in Srinagar and Avantepura bases, our strategic assets were kept protected. Defence Minister stressed that if Pakistan attempts misadventure again, it will know it will bleed even deep inside its own territory. There were, of course, slogans of Bharat Mata Ki Jai and more. Let's listen in to what did the Defence Minister say and the visuals from on the ground.
और अच्छे के खिलाफ भारत की प्रतिज्ञा कितनी कठोर है, इसका पता इसी बात से चलता है कि हमने उनके न्यूक्लियर ब्लैकमेल की भी परवाह नहीं की है। पूरी दुनिया ने देखा है कि कैसे गैर जिम्मेदाराना तरीके से पाकिस्तान द्वारा भारत को अनेक बार एटमी धमकियां दी गई हैं। आज श्रीनगर की धरती से मैं पूरी दुनिया के सामने यह सवाल उठाना चाहता हूं कि क्या ऐसे गैर जिम्मेदार और रोग नेशन के हाथों में परमाणु हथियार सुरक्षित हैं? मैं दुनिया के सामने यह सवाल खड़ा करना चाहता हूं। मैं मानता हूं कि पाकिस्तान के एटमी हथियारों को IAEA इंटरनेशनल एटॉमिक एनर्जी एजेंसी की निगरानी में लिया जाना चाहिए। मैं ये कहना चाहूंगा और साफ तौर पर कहना चाहूंगा, आतंकियों ने पहलगाम में धर्म पूछकर हमारे निर्दोष लोगों को मारा। उसके बाद आपने जो जवाब दिया उसे पूरी दुनिया ने देखा है। उन्होंने यह नहीं सोचा कि आम नागरिकों ने उनका क्या बिगाड़ा है, उन्होंने ऐसा क्या किया है कि उन्हें मार दिया जाए। पर मैं यह कहना चाहूंगा, आतंकियों ने भारतीयों को धर्म पूछकर देखकर मारा, धर्म पूछकर मारा, तो हमने आतंकियों को उनका कर्म देखकर मारा है। उन्होंने धर्म देखकर बेगुनाहों की जान ली, यह पाकिस्तान का कर्म था। हमने कर्म देखकर उनका खात्मा किया, यह हमारा भारतीय धर्म है। मैं आपके साहस और पराक्रम को तो जानता ही हूं, साथ ही साथ पहलगाम जैसी घटना के प्रति आपके गुस्से को भी मैं अच्छी तरह जानता हूं। साथियों, मुझे पता है कि पहलगाम के बाद आपके अंदर गुस्सा था, पूरे देश के अंदर गुस्सा था। मुझे पता है कैसा महसूस होता है जब धमनियों में बह रहा रक्त बेकाबू होने लगे, और मुझे इस बात की खुशी भी है कि आपने अपने गुस्से को सही दिशा देते हुए बड़ी बहादुरी और सूझबूझ के साथ पहलगाम का बदला लिया है। रही बात पाकिस्तान की, तो उसकी बात ही क्या करूं आपसे। वह देश तो मांगते मांगते अपनी जहालत से एक ऐसी हालात में आ गया है कि उसके बारे में यह भी कहा जा सकता है कि पाकिस्तान जहां भी खड़ा होता है वहीं से मांगने वालों की लाइन प्रारंभ हो जाती है। अभी आपने सुना ही होगा कैसे वह फिर एक बार इंटरनेशनल मॉनेटरी फंड IMF के पास कर्ज मांगने गया। वहीं दूसरी तरफ हमारा देश है कि हम आज उन देशों की श्रेणी में आते हैं जो IMF को फंड देते हैं ताकि IMF गरीब देशों को कर्ज दे सके। ऐसी स्थिति में हमारा यह भारत है। रामचरितमानस में स्वामी तुलसीदास जी ने लिखा है, जहां सुमतितः संपत्ति नाना, जहां कुमतितः विपत्ति निदाना। यानी जहां सुमति होती है, अच्छी नीतियां होती हैं, वहां सुख और समृद्धि होती है, और जहां कुमति होती है, बुरी मति होती है, केवल दूसरों के हित की भावना होती है, वहां तरह तरह की विपत्तियां स्वाभाविक रूप से आती ही हैं। पाकिस्तान जिसका जीता जागता यह उदाहरण है।
Now I want to take you to the ground in Jammu Kashmir. Poonch in Jammu region was the worst hit from the cowardly shelling by Pakistan on 7th and 8th of May. 13 innocent civilians were killed, and that's at least the number. Remember, many are seriously injured, recovering at the hospitals. Among the dead, remember, 2 children, 12-year-olds Zoya and Ayan, lost their life. Their father currently is critical in the hospital with injuries. Amreek Singh, a Ragi who performed Kirtan, Amarjeet Singh, an ex-serviceman, and many others. Today, also watch the coverage of the people of Poonch, the courage and the valor that they have. These civilians stood their ground amid Pakistan shelling. Healthcare workers continued their duty at the Raja Sukhdev Singh District Hospital. They are facing grief. They have been suffering from Pakistan shelling for decades now, but they also continue to stand with their nation and the people while Pakistan fired relentlessly at densely populated residential areas. India Today's Kamaljeet Sandhu with this extensive report from Poonch region.
Almost a week has gone by since Poonch came under heavy artillery shelling, which killed over 13 people. We are here at the hospital because, remember, several people were injured, but there are these unsung heroes, the doctors. When everybody was rushing out of town, these are the doctors who stayed put. They kept treating those who were severely injured. Let's just start here because remember, we've called this team of doctors a busy day, but we've called them just for a small bit to talk about. Sir, do tell us, unprecedented night. I mean, unprecedented shelling, number of people coming in, wanting rescue, wanting relief. How did the team of doctors, how did you yourself kind of go through this entire night?
As is planned in our SOPs, our medical superintendent, he was here, and we were here actually before the shelling started. We were wonderfully led by our Director of Health Services, who himself was here. And as we were planning, we planned a system of triage. We saved our families. They were here in the quarters, and we all came to hospital, irrespective of specialties.
These are the brave doctors. These are the faces, because they are unsung heroes. Women doctors also present here. Ma'am, do tell us, I mean, what did it really take? I mean, you would be worried about your family, yet you were all here on ground.
Yeah, I'm gynecologist Dr. Priyanka Bhagat. On the day of the shelling, I was on duty. I was with my kids at the night when the shelling started. I consoled my kids and I took them to the hospital along with me. I thought if the shelling came and the patient came to the operation theatre, what will I do? I consoled my kids and I shifted them. With the cooperation of whole the staff, we managed the night. We managed sometimes in the below second floor, third floor, and we tried.
Can you imagine bringing in your children while it's bombing to ensure that not only do you take care of patients but also take care of your own kids? Jalpreet Kaur, you are a doctor here. I mean, the sort of crisis, what is the precedent that you set in, you know? Because it's inspirational to see so many women really come out. There are all doctors here, men, women, both putting in. How many days did it go on? I've been told there was no rest for at least 4 days.
As soon as the shelling started, ma'am, without any intimation, we all rushed to the hospital and we started helping out with the patients. So, ma'am, I am the child specialist. We had about 20 to 30 children admitted in our ward. Some of them were on oxygen because they were sick. And immediately, ma'am, our nursing staff and us, we started shifting the patients from the top floor to the ground floor to secure the patients. We calmed the families. We told them not to worry. We'll take care of the kids. And, ma'am, there is a newborn ICU also here. There were several newborns on oxygen in the ICU. We could not shift them. Our sisters stayed with the babies, putting their lives at risk. We told the mothers and the fathers that don't worry, that the kids are our responsibility and we will take care of them. I think the name itself, Operation Sindoor, is a testimony to the strength and the courage of the women in our country. And I think we put our lives at stake, but we don't regret a single moment of it, because this is what we have to do for our country. When the country needs us, we have to stand for it.
उस टाइम सारी जो गाड़ियाँ थी यहाँ से बाहर जा रही थी क्योंकि उनको सेफर प्लेसेस पे जाना था, और मेरी एक अकेली गाड़ी थी जो शेलिंग के बीच में होते हुए मैं हॉस्पिटल पहुंचा। और जैसे ही हम यहाँ पहुंचे तो सभी डॉक्टर्स जो ऑफ ड्यूटी भी थे वो सारे ऑपरेशन थिएटर और इमरजेंसी को मैनेज कर रहे थे। सभी पेशेंट के साथ उनको उठाकर शिफ्ट कर रहे थे। जो पेशेंट एक्सपायर्ड हो चुके थे अनफॉर्चुनेटली उनको तो कुछ नहीं किया जा सकता था, लेकिन जो पॉसिबल ऐसे पेशेंट थे जिनको बचाया जा सकता था उनको सबने एक टीम वर्क के साथ लिया और सब उनको बचाया।
How worried were you about your family?
I'm Dr. Kamarunisa, anesthetist. My family was away. My kids were at Jammu and they were constantly calling me. But I was not able to receive their calls and just telling them I'm here. And then my son told me, Mama, you are doing good. You remain there. I'll not come. Whatever we could do, we did. It was a ghostly nightmare. And without worrying for our lives, we were doing our best.
Without worrying about their own safety, they say not all heroes wear capes, but some of them are in white and they are doctors. Look at the numbers. But remember, a whole lot of them discharged, all because of timely intervention. Obviously, some lives could not be saved, but all doctors, all nurses, all reported here, and the relentless work went on. We've been told it was food, hospital chairs were brushed in terms of 24/7. They put in for the next 4 days till the crisis came to an end. And these are the heroes of the nation who stand before you. With camera person Girish, this is Kamaljeet Sandhu in Poonch for India Today.
Incredible courage, remember, of the people, the determination of these people, whether healthcare workers or civilians as well. Perhaps it's time now that Pakistan is held accountable for how it targeted civilians. Remember this. India never did it, despite the distress and anger it faced. It only went for terror targets and military targets. That's the difference that remains between India and Pakistan. I'm wrapping up this bulletin for now. Thank you so much for watching 5 Live.